Welcome to my notes on ordering fractions, decimals, percents, and scientific notation. So it says list the following in order from least to greatest. So we can use the middleman and change them all to decimals. Now some of you might prefer percents, so when you're doing these on your own you can change them to percents. For our note purposes, I'm going to change them to decimals. So stack to line up the decimals, insert zeros if necessary, and then be sure to order the original. Okay, so we have 1/3. So do you know what the decimal for 1/3 is? Good, it's 0.3 repeating. Okay, 30%. Move it 2 to the left. There's no decimals, so start at the percent. And it's 0.30 or 0.3. 300ths is already a decimal, and do you remember the trick for eighths? Each eighth is worth 125 thousandths. So if I have 3 of them, I have 375 thousandths. So I'm going to save this room so I can order right here. So I'm going to come over here to stack them. So we have 0.3 repeating. We have 0.30. Make sure you're writing this down. We have 300ths, and we have 0.375. Now here I'm going to drop zeros. Here, what am I going to drop? Not zeros, I'm going to drop 3's. Okay, so which one is the smallest? 333 thousandths, 300 thousandths, 30 thousandths, or 375 thousandths? Good, 30. Which one would come next? 300 thousandths, then 333 thousandths, and last 375 thousandths. Now, over here, I'm going to write the correct order, but I'm not going to use the decimal. I'm going to use what I started with. So the first one was this one, which is right here. So it's 300ths. The next one is this one, which was 30%. Then we have the top one, which was 1/3. And then last was 3/8. So I'm going to box this in. And now I've ordered them from least to greatest. Okay, let's do some practice down below. And it says order the following from least to greatest, ascending order. Convert all to decimals. Stack and line up your decimals to make the ordering easier. Okay, so 7 to the first is 7 whole. This is already a decimal. 7/10 is 0.7. And then this one is 2 to the left, 0.715. So now I'm going to line up the decimals. So we have 7 whole. Remember, 7 whole has a decimal right there. Then we have decimal 71, so 7100ths. We have 7/10. So I can drop zeros here. And then we have 715 thousandths. So I need to drop an extra 0 on all of these. So clearly, if we look here, and if I can add zeros as placeholders, clearly this is the greatest. Okay, so since we're going least to greatest, I'm going to give this one a 4. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So now we're looking at which is smaller, 710, 700, or 715? Good, 700. Then what would come next? 710, and finally 715. And 7 whole is obviously the biggest. So now I'm going to come down here and write down the original when I put them in order. So the first one was actually this third one here, 7/10. Then second was the second one here, 7100ths. Then third was the last one, so 71.5%. And then last was 7 to the first. Notice I am ordering what I originally started with. Okay, number 2 says order the following from greatest to least. Descending order. Stack and line up your decimals to make the order make them easier to order, sorry. Okay, so let's take a look here. We have 15%. So we're going to do this. Start here because there's no decimal, 1, 2. So it's 0.15. Here it's 10 to the first, so that tells me to move it one place to the right, so I have 15 whole. This one's already a decimal, and then of course 1/5. I can do a friendly fraction, which is 2/10. So how would I write 2/10? 0.2. Now I'm going to come over here to stack them. So we have 0.15. 15 whole would be 15 decimal. So be careful when you line up whole numbers because they can really mix up your order. Okay, 115 thousandths. I can drop a 0 here and drop 3 here. And then last we have 2/10. So we can drop in 2 zeros. I can put placeholders here. And now I'm going greatest to least. So clearly the only one that has a number other than 0 is 15 whole. So that one goes first. Then I'm looking for the next greatest. 150 thousandths, 115, or 200? Good, 200. Then what would come next, 150 or 115? Good, 150, and then last is 115. Now I'm going to write the original for the correct order. So 15 whole was this one. So I'm going to write 1 5/10 times 10 to the first. Second was the 2/10, so it started out as 1/5. Third was 150 thousandths, which started out as 15%. And last would be the 115 thousandths. So box this in, and now I've ordered them from greatest to least. So number 3 says, order the following on the number line from least to greatest. Plot each rational number on the number line to help you put them in order. Remember, rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction. So the first thing we want to do is convert all these. So I'm going to, this one's already a decimal, so we're going to put the right here between 5/10 and 6/10. And up here I'm going to write 55 hundredths. Okay, this one says 1 5/10 times 10 to the negative first. That tells me to move it 1 to the left. So it's 15 hundredths, which would be where? Between 1/10 and 2/10. So I'm going to write 1 5/10 times 10 to the negative first. Okay, this one, I'm going to move it 2 to the left, 1, 2. So this is 0.075. So where would that one be? Good, between 0 and 0.1. So I'm going to put a dot here. And I'm going to put this over here, 7.5%. And then last 7/8. Remember the trick of the eighths. You can count by 125. Each 1/8 is 125 thousandths, so I have 7 of them. So that would be 875 thousandths. So that would be between 8 and 9. I'm going to write 7/8. So now I've ordered them from least to greatest. Okay, let's look at the multiple choice example. It says, which statement is not true? So we have to see if, when I change this to a decimal, if it matches 89 hundredths. So 8.9 times 10 to the negative first, 1 to the left. 0.89, yes. Is 0.89 89%? It sure is. Okay, 9/25. If I change this to a friendly fraction, I could multiply top and bottom by 4, and I would get what? 36 hundredths. Is 36 hundredths 36%? Yes. And is it 0.36? Absolutely. Excuse me. 1 7/8. We just said that 7/8 was 875 thousandths. So that would be 1.875. That's correct. Now, if I change the decimal to a percent by moving it 2 to the right, I'd be 187.5%. Do these match? No, they do not. So which statement is not true? The correct answer is C. Okay, let's move on to our last example. It says, which is the greatest number? So what do you think I should do to find the greatest number? Good, change all of these to decimals. So I'm going to make this a friendly fraction so that I can easily change this to a decimal. So 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. And what did I forget here? Put the 2 in front. So how would I write 2 and 4/10? 2.4. Good. Now this one is 2 and 45/100 times 10 to the negative first. What does that negative 1 tell me? Move 1 to the left. So it's 245 thousandths. Okay, how do I change a percent to a decimal? Move it 2 to the left, 1, 2. So this would be 2,025 10,000ths. And the last one already is a decimal. Now, these two would start with 0 if I put it in a placeholder. So those clearly are the smallest. So it's between 2 and 4/10 and 2 and 25/100. If I add a 0, we can correctly compare them. So which is greater, 2 and 40/100 or 2 and 25/100? Good, 2 and 40/100, so circle A. That concludes our notes on ordering rational numbers. I hope you have a great day.